Eddie Van Halen was in the middle of his Eruption solo. 15,000 people at the Capitol Center in Maryland, all watching his fingers fly. Then, suddenly, Eddie stopped, just stopped, mid-note, walked to the mic and said, "Security, row 23, right side, now." The music died. The crowd went silent. Nobody knew what was happening. Security rushed into the crowd. 30 seconds later, they pulled someone out, a kid, barely conscious. Eddie didn't explain, just nodded to Alex and they started playing again. But after the show, Eddie found that kid. And what the kid told him changed Eddie forever. Because Eddie Van Halen didn't just save someone from being crushed in a mosh pit that night. He saved someone who came to that concert planning to die. March 19th, 1982. Van Halen was at the peak of everything. The Fair Warning Tour was massive. Every show sold out. Every crowd insane with energy. And tonight, the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland was no different. 15,000 screaming fans, wall-to-wall humanity. Eddie stood on stage, sweat already soaking through his striped shirt despite being only 4 songs in. This was the part of the show he loved most. Just him and his guitar. Eruption. The solo that had made him famous. 2 minutes where the world disappeared and it was just Eddie and the Frankenstrat having a conversation only they could understand. He started the solo. His fingers moved across the fretboard in patterns he'd played 10,000 times. The crowd roared. Everyone knew this solo. Everyone had tried to learn it. Nobody could play it like Eddie. Eddie was 15 seconds in, moving into the tapping section, when something caught his eye. Movement in the crowd, wrong kind of movement, not dancing, not moshing, something else. Row 23, right side. A kid, maybe 17, being pushed and shoved by the surge of the crowd. Normal concert chaos. Except this kid wasn't pushing back, wasn't protecting himself, wasn't trying to get to safety. He was just standing there, arms at his sides, head down, letting people slam into him. Eddie knew that body language, had seen it before, in mirrors, in bad times, in the dark days when he'd been drinking himself to death and part of him didn't care if he woke up the next morning. The body language of someone who's already given up, someone who doesn't care what happens to them, maybe even wants to get hurt. Eddie stopped playing. Mid-note, his hand lifted from the guitar. The silence was shocking. 15,000 people had been roaring. Now they were silent, confused. Alex kept drumming for 2 more beats before realizing his brother had stopped. David Lee Roth turned around, surprised. Eddie walked to the front mic, pointed into the crowd. "Security, row 23, right side. Kid in the denim jacket, get him out, now." Security didn't question it. They'd learned to trust Eddie's instincts. 3 guards moved into the crowd, pushing through the mass of people. The crowd parted, not understanding what was happening but responding to the urgency in Eddie's voice. The guards reached row 23. Found the kid. Denim jacket, 17, 18 years old. Didn't resist when they grabbed him, didn't protest, just went limp as they pulled him toward the exit. Eddie watched until the kid was out of the crowd. Then he turned back to his guitar, nodded to Alex, and said into the mic, "All right." Where were we? The crowd roared back to life. Eddie started Eruption again from the beginning, but his mind wasn't fully on the music anymore. His mind was on that kid, on that body language, on the recognition that had hit him like a punch to the chest. The show continued. 90 more minutes of rock and roll. Eddie performed every song perfectly. But between every song, during every break, he thought about row 23. After the encore, after the final boo, Eddie walked off stage. David Lee Roth was already heading to his dressing room, riding the high of the performance. Alex was wiping down his drums. Michael Anthony was packing up his bass. Eddie grabbed the tour manager. "The kid from row 23, where is he?" "Medical tent. EMTs checked him out. He's fine. Probably should go to the hospital, but he's refusing." "I want to see him." The tour manager looked surprised. "Eddie, you've got the meet and greet with the radio station. Then the label people want to cancel it. I want to see the kid from row 23. Eddie walked to the medical tent still in his stage clothes, still sweating, still wired from the performance, but focused on one thing. The kid sat on a medical cot, head in his hands. EMT had given him water, checked his vitals. The kid looked up when Eddie walked in. His eyes widened. Holy shit, Eddie Van Halen. Yeah, Eddie said, pulling up a folding chair. That's me. What's your name? The kid hesitated. Danny Morrison. Danny, you okay? I'm fine. I don't know why they pulled me out. I was just watching the show. Eddie looked at him, really looked at him, saw what he'd seen from the stage, the deadness in the eyes, the slumped shoulders, the energy of someone who'd already checked out. Danny, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Did you come to this concert planning to die? Danny's face went white. What? No, because I saw you. I saw how you were standing in that crowd, arms down, not fighting, not protecting yourself, just letting people hit you. I know that look, Danny. I've seen it in the mirror. Danny stared at Eddie. Then slowly, the wall broke. His face crumpled. How did you know? Eddie leaned forward. Because I've been there. Different circumstances. Same feeling. Tell me what's going on. Danny was quiet for a long moment. Then he started talking. It came out in a rush, the way secrets do when they've been held too long. His parents were getting divorced. Nasty divorce, using Danny as a weapon against each other. His girlfriend had broken up with him 2 months ago. His best friend had moved to California. His grades were falling. Teachers were on him. Parents were on him. Everyone expected things from him and he couldn't deliver. Couldn't be what everyone wanted. Couldn't fix the divorce. Couldn't fix anything. And he'd started thinking, what if I just wasn't here anymore? What if I just stopped? I had pills in my pocket, Danny said quietly. Plan was to take them during the concert. Go out listening to music I loved. Van Halen was the only thing that still made me feel anything. Figured if I was going to die, at least I'd die hearing something that mattered. Eddie felt something crack in his chest, because he understood. God help him, he understood exactly what Danny was describing. Danny, listen to me, Eddie said. I'm not going to bullshit you with some everything gets better speech, because sometimes it doesn't get better right away. Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better. You want to know the truth? I'm a functional alcoholic. I drink to deal with pressure, with expectations, with all the noise. Some mornings I wake up and don't remember the night before. Some nights I drink until I can't feel anything because feeling is too hard. Danny looked shocked. But you're Eddie Van Halen. You have everything. I have fame, money, success, and I still want to disappear sometimes. You know why? Because the outside stuff doesn't fix the inside stuff. The pain doesn't care if you're famous or nobody. Depression doesn't give a shit about your bank account. Eddie stood up, paced. But here's what I learned. The pain you're feeling right now, it's temporary. I know it doesn't feel temporary. It feels permanent. It feels like it'll never end. But it will. The divorce will settle. You'll meet new people. Your grades can be fixed. All of that is solvable. You know what's not solvable? Being dead. Danny was crying now. Quiet tears. I just wanted it to stop. Just wanted the pressure to stop. I know. God, Danny, I know. But taking pills in a concert crowd, that's not stopping the pressure. That's stopping everything. Every good thing you'll ever feel, every good day you'll ever have, every person you'll ever meet, every moment of actual happiness. You'd be trading temporary pain for permanent nothing. Eddie sat back down, looked Danny in the eyes. I stopped the concert for you tonight. You know why? Because I saw myself. 17 years ago. Same dead look, same giving up. If someone hadn't stopped the music for me back then, I wouldn't be here. Someone grabbed me, literally grabbed me, told me, not today, you don't get to quit today. And I didn't. And then the next day, someone said the same thing. And the day after that. And eventually, enough days passed that I started wanting to not quit. Who grabbed you? Danny asked. My brother Alex. Found me passed out with an empty bottle and a note. He dragged me to a hospital. Then to AA. Then kept me alive day by day until I wanted to be alive again. Eddie reached into his pocket, pulled out a guitar pick, the same picks he used on stage, handed it to Danny. I want you to keep this, and every time you think about quitting, about ending it, I want you to look at this pick and remember, Eddie Van Halen stopped a concert for you, not for a celebrity, not for a VIP, for you, because your life mattered enough to stop the music. Danny held the pick like it was made of gold. Why do you care? You don't even know me. Because nobody's life should end at 17. Because you came here tonight planning to die, but you're leaving here alive, and that means something. Because if I can save one person from making the permanent mistake I almost made, then maybe all the pain I went through means something." They sat in silence for a moment. "What do I do now?" Danny asked. "Now you get help, real help. You talk to a therapist. You talk to your parents. You tell someone what you're feeling. You take the pills you brought tonight and you flush them. And tomorrow, when you wake up and the pain is still there, you don't take pills. You call someone. You reach out. You survive one more day. What if it doesn't get better? Then you survive one more day after that, and the day after that, until enough days pass that you realize you're not just surviving anymore, you're living." Eddie stood up. "I'm going to give you a number. It's my management office. You call it. You tell them Eddie said to put you through. You call when you need to, middle of the night, during school, whenever. Someone will talk to you. I'll talk to you if I'm available. You don't fight this alone." Eddie wrote a number on a piece of paper, handed it to Danny along with his contact information. "One more thing," Eddie said. "The pills you brought tonight, give them to me, right now." Danny slowly reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a pill bottle, handed it to Eddie. Eddie took it, walked to the trash can, and emptied the pills, then crushed them under his boot. "Gone. Decision's been made for you. Now you have to make it tomorrow and the day after. But tonight? Tonight you survived." Security came in. "Eddie, sorry, but we need to clear out. Venue's closing." Eddie nodded, turned back to Danny. "You going to be okay getting home?" "Yeah, my friend drove. He's waiting." "Good. Call that number tomorrow. Promise me." "I promise." Eddie started to leave, then turned back. "Danny, thank you." "For what?" "For letting me stop the music. For giving me a reason to stop the music. For being alive tomorrow." Danny left the Capitol Center that night with a guitar pick and a phone number. Eddie left with something else. Purpose. Understanding that his own pain, his own battles, could be used to help someone else. The tour continued. Every night Eddie would scan the crowd, looking for that body language, that deadness, that giving up. He never stopped another show. But twice more on that tour, he'd have security pull someone out, check on them, make sure they were okay. Word spread among the crew. Eddie's got a sixth sense for people in trouble. Eddie sees things. Years later, Eddie would tell Wolfgang about that night in Maryland, about Danny Morrison, about the kid who came to die and left alive. "Wolfgang, if you ever see someone like that, you stop. You don't care if it's inconvenient. You don't care if it interrupts something important. You stop. Because saving a life is the most important thing you'll ever do. More important than any concert, any album, any success." Wolfgang asked, "Did Danny ever call?" 3 times. First time was the next day, scared, crossing. We talked for an hour. Second time was a month later, doing better, in therapy. Third time was 6 months after that. Thanked me, said he'd made it through, said he was glad he didn't die that night. "Do you still talk to him?" "No. Last I heard he was in college, studying to be a counselor, wanted to help kids like himself." That's how it works, Wolfie. You save someone, they save someone else. Pain becomes purpose. Wolfgang remembered that conversation years later when his own father was dying. When Eddie was in the hospital, fighting cancer, struggling with addiction, battling depression. "Dad," Wolfgang said one day, "remember Danny Morrison?" Eddie, weak from treatment, nodded. "You saved his life, and probably a dozen others we don't even know about. Everyone you helped, everyone you stopped the music for, they're all alive because of you. That's your real legacy. Not the guitar playing, not the albums, the lives you saved." Eddie smiled, weak but genuine. "Not a bad legacy for an alcoholic guitar player." "Not bad at all, Dad." March 19th, 1982, Eddie Van Halen stopped a concert for 17 seconds, stopped playing Eruption mid-solo, pointed into the crowd and said, "Row 23, right side, now." Those 17 seconds saved a life and taught Eddie that sometimes the most important thing a rock star can do isn't play another note, it's stop, look, see someone who needs help, and help them. Danny Morrison is 58 years old now, married, 3 kids, retired from 30 years as a high school counselor where he helped countless students through suicidal ideation. Every year on March 19th, he takes out a guitar pick, black with white stripes, worn from being carried for 40 years. And he remembers the night Eddie Van Halen stopped the music, stopped the concert, stopped everything for him. He remembers Eddie's words, "Your life mattered enough to stop the music." And he thinks, if Eddie Van Halen thought my life was worth stopping a concert for, then my life must be worth living. That guitar pick saved Danny's life. But Eddie saving Danny saved Eddie too. Gave him purpose. Showed him that his pain, his battles, his darkness could become light for someone else. Some people change the world with music. Eddie Van Halen changed the world with music and with silence. With the 17 seconds he stopped playing and proved that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop. Look, care, save someone, row 23, right side, kid in a denim jacket who came to die and left alive. That's the concert Eddie Van Halen never forgot. Not because of the music, but because of the silence. The moment he stopped being a rock star and became a lifeline. The moment he proved that fame means nothing if you can't use it to help someone who's hurting. The music can wait, the concert can pause, the solo can be restarted. But a life can't be restarted, can't be replayed, can't be given a second chance once it's gone. Eddie Van Halen knew that, and on March 19, 1982, he stopped the music to make sure someone else knew it too.